Greetings and welcome to this brief talk on the mindfulness of thoughts and emotions, followed by a guided meditation geared towards working with our thoughts and emotions. It's easy to notice in our day-to-day lives, and especially when we sit to meditate, that our minds are easily distracted by many thoughts. This isn't inherently a bad thing. After all, our minds, our brains, let's say, are built to think. Thinking is what our minds naturally do, and thinking is good. However, during meditation, we're doing something very specific. We're training our minds in a particular way. In mindfulness meditation, we're training our minds to be fully in the present moment. So we work with our wandering thoughts repeatedly, gently bringing them back to what we've established as our anchor. Most typically the breath, but as you know, it can be other things. So this is a bit like doing scales on the piano. These are the basics that train us to play more complex pieces of music. And they provide a necessary foundation. Same thing with meditation. Now let's look at the nature of our thoughts for a moment. Our minds are naturally wired from our early days of living with lions and tigers, which were physical threats to our lives. Our minds were wired to scan for danger. And this tendency remains with us today, even though tigers are not part of our day-to-day lives anymore. This tendency to scan for danger is what neuroscientists call the negativity bias. We tend toward thinking about what's negative, towards noticing what may be negative. As neuroscientist Rick Hansen has said, your brain is like Velcro for negative experiences and like Teflon for positive experiences. Because our thoughts often lead straight to what we experience as emotions, they feel tied together in an almost automatic response. Today, our tiger might look more like, might be more a look or a tone of voice from someone close to us. We tend to interpret such things negatively sometimes. We look for what might be of harm to us. And this triggers emotions like fear or irritation or anger. We then often embark on a story about that event. Our partners being irresponsible or maybe disrespectful to us. Maybe they're mad at us for something that is undeserving. Maybe they don't love us like we would want them to. Maybe something is wrong with me. Maybe many things. These are all, these thoughts are all a story. We don't know that a given look or a tone has to mean all these things. It might, but in most cases, our stories far embellish what bit of truth there may be. This story may likely trigger emotions, and which then fuel the story and embellish that story, which then leads to the embellishment of those emotions, and it creates a cycle that goes on, and before you know it, we are off somewhere that doesn't really represent reality. We might end up in a full state of anxiety or depression or rage, and we may act out of that in a way that is really not helpful. All because of our negativity bias and this nature of our minds to tell stories. A helpful phrase that could be applied here is, this is just a thought, real, but not true. So it's easy to see how this cycle of thinking and emotions and thinking can be applied to this current state of the coronavirus that we're living in right now. It's easy to be led by our negativity bias into catastrophizing stories about the future, triggering fear, anxiety, or depression. Catastrophizing is different from responsible planning ahead. That's a helpful thing. Catastrophizing is escalating negative speculation that is emotion-driven, and that is not so helpful. So meditation can help with this. Mindfulness practice teaches us to look deeply at our thoughts in a kind and non-judgmental way without getting lost in the stories. That's our practice when we try to catch our thoughts, notice our thoughts as they arise before they go off for a long, long time into a story. Even then, once we notice that, return to our anchor, we are doing the practice. Meditation also develops the muscle of noticing what's happening in real time. We can be aware of our story before it goes too far along. And this allows us to curtail the escalating emotions, which can help us respond rather than react from within this embellished thought emotion cycle. Meditation can also help us develop a different relationship with our thoughts and feelings. One that observes and notices them without judgments and attaching more to them than is there. Sometimes a helpful image here is that of a waterfall. So if you are standing directly under the waterfall and the water is pounding down on your head, that's an unpleasant, difficult way to experience being in that waterfall. But if we could just step back a bit behind that waterfall, then we're noticing that cascade of thoughts, but we're not at the effect of them. And lastly, meditation can help calm our nervous system. A regular practice can help us to become more calm in our day-to-day lives, giving us a little bit more time and space to respond to situations and events that happen rather than automatically reacting to them. So let's begin our practice developing awareness of thoughts. So as usual, let's begin with finding a posture where we can be comfortable and yet alert. If we're sitting in a chair, sitting with our backs straight if that's possible, feet on the floor if you can do that, hands resting comfortably in the lap or on the legs, and gently allowing the eyes to close or be downcast in a soft focus. And taking a moment to really feel into our bodies as they're sitting here. And we'll briefly scan through our bodies to help ground us into this practice. And starting with the head, just notice if there is any tension that might be present in the forehead, around the eyes, maybe unhinging the jaw, the teeth. Noticing the neck and shoulders. We carry a lot in our neck and our shoulders. A lot of tension. We just notice what's there and invite it to be released. Moving down the arms into the hands. Allow the hands to be soft, relaxed, not gripping. Noticing sensations in the upper back, the chest, the torso. Allowing the belly to be soft. Noticing the sensations of sitting, where we make contact with the chair or couch. Noticing what that surface feels like to our bodies. And moving down the legs, knees, shins, ankles, and feet. Just noticing if there's any holding in any of these areas, and just gently invite that to be released. Feeling our whole body as it sits. Establishing an anchor. If it's the breath, noticing where you feel the breath most notably in your body today. Nostrils, throat, chest, or belly. Or if your anchor is something else, resting your awareness there and becoming familiar with it. And this will be your home base, the anchor you return to over and over. Now, intentionally moving your attention to your mind, I want to invite you to notice the general state of your mind. There's nothing to change or fix, nothing to make bad or wrong, just tuning into what's there. And I'm going to suggest a couple of different types of thought, and just notice which ones might closely describe your mind at this time. Your mind might be active or quiet, crowded or spacious, clear or foggy, agitated or calm. Just notice if any of those apply to you right now. And noticing the difference between being lost in thought and being mindful in this moment. Sometimes it's helpful to notice the type of thinking that's there, the type of thought pattern that might be going on that takes you away from being fully present. For example, you might notice your mind is engaged in planning. planning takes place in the future. Or your mind might be engaged with worry. Worry about something that happened in the past, worry about the future. You might notice that your thoughts might fall in the category of critical judging. Could be judging others, judging yourself. Just thoughts that make somebody bad or wrong. Perhaps your thoughts are those of analyzing, trying to understand something. Looking for meaning of some sort. Or maybe the thoughts are fantasizing, taking you to another time and place. Or maybe you're simply spacing out. Everyone experiences these types of thoughts from time to time. For the next few moments, simply notice what your thoughts are doing. You might make a light note, planning, analyzing, worrying, whatever it may be. And then return to your anchor. You might notice if there's an emotion attached to any of your thoughts. Perhaps fear is present, or sadness. Or peace. We're simply noticing and returning to the anchor. If you're aware of difficult emotions, maybe some judging or fear, if you wish, I invite you to just maybe place a hand on the heart, the chest, and just offer some kind intent toward those feelings. Just a message of kindness towards yourself. Maybe there are some words or phrases of support or comfort that would be helpful to you. I'm here for you. You're not alone. Now bringing the attention back to the body, the whole body as it sits. Feeling the feet on the floor, feeling the weight of gravity holding, supporting you. And as always, as I bring this meditation time to a close, if you wish to continue on your own, right here and right now, please feel free to do so, ending when it feels right to you. For the rest of us, I invite you to gently open the eyes, returning to this room, this time and place. And I wish you well.